When I listen to music, I listen to what they're saying. And when you hear someone talking absolute nonsense, there's sometimes I heard listen to Nicki Minaj albums. I swear I'm going to probably get a lot of hate from
you will.
dissing everybody.
Me too. It's going on the channel.
It's just time that people knew about this.
There's she's got a song called Bees in the Tree. I couldn't understand what I didn't even, up until today, I've heard the song quite a few times, playing on TV.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose, no, I wouldn't do that to myself. Up until I don't know what the hell she's talking about.
But what about that one where she did a collaboration and she's got those golden stars over her breasts and stuff. And it was the remix to they did a remix to I think it was the Murder She Wrote beat. I can't remember what it was called, but she did a video to that. That was I don't know what that was. I don't know what she was talking about either.
I don't know.
It was just breasts and tits. Yeah, but my point is, these artists, your Lil Waynes, your Drakes, your Nicki Minaj's, anyone who you can name who's in the forefront, these people, they don't have to, Kanye West, they don't have to make quality. They will sell regardless because they're big. Yeah. And that's my point. I'm not saying
because you become a brand.
But this is it. So I'm not saying that they don't have quality music every now and again. I'm just saying that Kanye West could record him farting in the microphone. That's gonna sell.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But why is it? But why? Not because it's good, but because it's Kanye West. It's about the branding.
Because it's a step up from his last one. That's why.
I think. Do you know what? I think a lot of the artists we've been talking about do have talent. I just think that they choose not to then put it out there. Because I think even if you go with Nicki Minaj, even though I think she's got something there, because there's sometimes where I've seen a few clips of her sort of spitting off the top of her head, and there is stuff there that she talks about which is good, and spitting just like that, freestyle. It's hard. I can do it, and so to be able to do it, there has to be some level of substance there. Yeah. But I just think it's that pressure of the industry and everything to put out sort of this vanilla nonsense that people just say, what's the point? I can knock out something for 5 minutes. Someone puts some sort of synthesized beats over it, and all this nonsense that they do in studios, and then people buy it because it's genius, and it's really not. I just think people's expectations have been lowered so much, and their standards have been lowered so much as to what's amazing. Even in film, then you've got these amazing amounts of dance films, which is about absolutely nothing but people just prancing around the place. There's no story or anything there. And people are like, oh, that's awesome. And these films, because they're in 3D, sell millions. And it's just it's hard. And then you see films which actually have something to them, so telling a real story, they don't do too well because people's attention spans aren't that long anymore. They want to see explosions every 5 minutes. That's what they want. You might as well just do a film with loads of fireworks and then everyone goes, "This is awesome."
That's what we need to do for the next one.
What else do you need in a film? Fireworks,
maybe a bit of sex, a bit of cleavage or something.
Yeah. But Nicki Minaj, she always brings that to the table. So
yeah, but they all do, don't they? This is the problem. This is why, even though I'm not a huge fan of someone like Adele, I do respect how she does her work, and how she performs. Yeah. It's tasteful. It's about the music. It's about her voice and nothing else. Okay, she's got a chin that could sing the Titanic. But
that's what you call an artist. And other people you talk about who just talk nonsense. You're just a performer. You're not an artist.
Yeah.
There's so much more to becoming an artist than just standing on the stage and making noise. Anyone can do that. And it's like One Direction and many other boy bands that have proved anyone can do that. But to actually be an artist, to be able to write yourself and create something.
I just think the sad thing is that these days it means nothing to be an artist. No one cares. It's like, you know what? You don't have to be an artist. Get out there, look nice.
Famous, isn't it?
Earn that money so I can scream at you and
disappear after a few years.
And that's all we want. And that's quite sad because it makes you think all the work that not just black artists but musicians in general and artists in general have made since music became a commodity to sell, in the last century. It's like, well, really, all the word that the Beatles, Michael Jackson, and ABBA, James Brown, I could go on, Bob Marley, etc. All these people, all the progress they made, what was it all for? It was for so now people can go to people like The Wanted and One Direction and not to JLS, thank goodness, because they're not together anymore. And let's scream.
Yeah, because I was saying, because you know, they talk about, because a lot of people don't understand that black culture has influenced so much genres of music that you don't assume that rock music is black. And it's
So rock music comes from blues music.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You
So
know?
much of music informs one another. But people think, oh, it's not cool because I'm black. Can't be listening to rock music or even heavy metal music and stuff like that.
It's talking about like Skindred, right?
Yeah, I know Skindred. I love Skindred.
The guy can spit.
Yeah.
And you put it on, and what do they say? Oh, turn it off, it's too heavy. And you think, but you're not listening. You know?
Yeah, but
those beats, the beats that they come out with, you know, that is because it's like it's reggae rock.
Yeah, and I love it. I love that sound. I think it's
say,
I think it's a lovely collaboration. It's a lovely meld. But you see, you got what you're describing there, Tim. Is symptomatic. It is similar. It's parallel to exactly why the majority of mainstream white society don't know about rap music. It's not because they don't understand it. They don't want to understand it.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with these young people. It's not so much that why am I going to sit there and want to listen to something where you have to listen to the lyrics where I have Lil Wayne talking about licking lollipops in the millie. You know, it's easier. It's like I can just zone out.
Very few people actually look to expand themselves. They usually look for stuff that informs what they already feel and what they already know. So no one, for example, I think I spoke to you about it as well, about people choosing what newspaper they read. They're not choosing it to say, oh, so they can get informed
another
of
point of view.
Yeah. They want a point of view just to enhance what they already think.
Yeah.
So I think that translates with music as well. If you're not that sort of person that's looking for something for substance, you're not going to listen to nuts. You're not going to listen to someone who talks about something. You're going to be listening to, you know, I don't know, some with as many examples of people who just make general noise and sounds on a record.
The real artists out there, as Ben said, he's very correct. I reckon they're few and far between, and they're dying out very, very quickly. You know, if you look at now, how many artists really can you say produce content? Not against Jay-Z, Ben, but I don't know that he does anymore. He's been doing he's been doing for a long time, and you know, if you look at what he's saying now to what he's saying when he first started, it is.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I know. Even though I'm a fan of Jay-Z, I fully know that he's sort of seemingly seen. He's clever because he's a businessman. And he's seen the shift in music, and so he's shifted with it. Because if he started doing what he did back in the 80s, he wouldn't be selling anything. But he's seen it. So yeah, I can fully understand. His music has sort of lost that content that it had in the back, back in the 80s. He came from the era of like Tupac and Biggie. Yeah, he's talking about stuff. And so he's changing that. So I know his quality of music that I appreciate is on the same level as it was. Granted, his beats and everything are great. But for me, it doesn't work for me because that's what I like. I'm more old school with my music taste. Because I love it back in the day when you could be listening to some big buff lady just singing, and physically you're like, she's got an amazing voice and she's talking about something, and that's what it should be about. That's what artistry should be about. Like if you've got something to say, then say it. If you haven't got nothing to say, then sit down and watch what someone else does. Because everyone thinks they can do it, and there's so much talent. Even in grime, there might be an amazing amount of talent, but you just don't hear about it because the people who have that real talent, no one wants to hear that because no one wants to listen. They just want to hear a beat to bob their head to, and that's it. They all want to hear content. Because I think that's where like old school hip hop and even old school tunes, no matter what genre it goes to, the beats were so simple because it wasn't really about that. It was about what was being said in that song.
The beats were simple, but the beats were still quality. All the guys who were decent get kill off all the time. That's what it is. All the guys that I listen to, all the music that I listen to, all the guys are dead. All of them. Marley's dead. Tupac's dead. Biggie's dead.
It's conspiracy.
Well, something is. They're just killing off all the talent. So it's finished before it begins.
When did that Frog tune came out from?
Oh no, that was the worst. That was in
2003. Yeah.
That was the
that
worst.
Good music?
No, oh my god, no.
Do you know, when that,
ding 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 dong.
When that came out and that hit number
I
one,
hated that
when they
song.
did the remix they did the remix with the Beverly Hills Cop tune, didn't they?
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end.
I thought that was going to be, when you get that horrible tune and then that dies and that's it. But we should have had some foresight. I thought that was, like you said, the beginning of the end. From that, when that kicked off, then that's sort of like signalled the end of music, as we know.
In terms of quality, because after that, and then only 2 or 3 years ago, you had, what was it? Come on, you must know that one. That was all over the radio. There was that Italian thing that they did.
Did I just listen to Radio 4?
Oh, well, it was terrible. It was so bad. It was such an annoying song.
Because when it comes to with vinyl and stuff, because of the effort that goes through it, that's probably why the bands back then were actually quality bands. Because they're like, we're not going through all this effort to put all this artwork and for it feel crap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But with a CD, anyone can throw that out. Make an MP3, anybody can do that. So it's all very simplified. So it's good in a way that people it's cheap and it's cheap as well. So it's good in the way that people get their music and everything. But then that opens the floodgates to everything else that decides to flow down that sewage river.
With the advancement of technology, for it to be even decent, you had to put a lot of effort in. Because of the advancement of technology, what I mean is you don't have to try as hard, so people don't. And because people don't, that's when you get this mediocre rubbish that is just there all the time now. You know what I mean?
And the audience should be ashamed of themselves, because growing up in this time, you're so media savvy. You should know that that's rubbish. You should know.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't disagree with you, but you see, anyone will see this video and say, look, we're calling this and that rubbish. We're saying it's cruddy. That's our opinion and nothing else. Their opinion's different, you know what I mean? Yes, it is cruddy. I think that's a fact. It's not my opinion, it's fact. For me, it's in my zone of existence that it's crap. So had when we were young, we viewed as quality. They view this in their time as quality. I don't, because I know what happened. I know what music was made in the 80s and 70s. That was quality. Even the stuff in the 90s was quality, and some of the noughties. But my point is, they're now seeing your Little Waynes and your da-da-da-da and your da-da-da-da, and they're seeing that, oh man, that's dope, that's quality. Not my version of quality, but hey, I think anyone who goes back to the 80s and sees what was made in the 80s, they'll know what real quality is.